It's been a swift resolution and a smooth transition in Botswana after last week's elections. Duma Boko is the new president. He defeated Mokgweetsi Masisi, who'd served one term. Parliamentary elections also saw a landslide rejection of Masisi's Botswana Democratic Party, which had governed since independence in 1966. The election reinforces Botswana's reputation as one of Africa's more stable democracies, but it also highlighted public concerns over issues like economic mismanagement, the growing wealth gap, and high unemployment.
Handshake?
It's a handshake that will go down in Botswana's history books. Mokgweetsi Masisi meeting his successor, Duma Boko. The Harvard-educated human rights lawyer was elected in a surprise win. The outgoing president was the first to accept that it was time to move on.
We've come to the moment where we administratively hand over government and all its instruments to the new, handsome president, the sixth president of the Republic of Botswana.
Thank you very much. I'm humbled to sit here with you, accepting this most lofty and honorable responsibility. I accept it with humility. I accept it with some trepidation, knowing that it's a very, very big assignment.
A big assignment and a seismic mandate for change in a tiny electorate. Botswana only has 1 million voters, but 80% of them turned out to cast their ballots. That translated into 36 out of 61 seats, and enthusiasm for Boko's centre-left umbrella for democratic change.
I'm glad that we have a change in government. We were unhappy because of unemployment. Now we look forward to seeing what the new government will do for us.
It was third time lucky for Boko. He formed the UDC in 2012 to unite the opposition. Its pledge to adopt a bold economic strategy, create well-paid jobs and ensure fair wealth distribution was a message that resonated amongst Botswanans. His challenge now is to deliver or suffer the same fate as his predecessor.
We have with us now the immediate former president of Botswana, His Excellency Mokgweetsi Masisi, joining us now from Gaborone to reflect on those elections. Good to have you on the program, sir. Commiserations. You accepted the result. It might be the obvious thing to do in Botswana, but that's not the case everywhere else. So what message do you hope this sends to other nations where democratic norms are not as well respected?
Well, thank you very much and very good evening. The message is simple. The minute you submit yourself to an electoral contest and you declare to be a believer in democracy, a practitioner of democracy, know very well that it could turn out to be different from what you expected. And by participating and subscribing to those ideals goes with the acceptance beforehand of whatever the outcome is and a respect for that. Know that you also have an onerous responsibility when you participate in leadership and electoral contest. You have a responsibility to make sure that you lead and you lead right, you lead fairly, honestly, and you make sure that nobody, no country is led into conflict.
Right. Was this result a surprise for you, to not just to lose, but to lose by such a margin?
Yes, it was a massive surprise to us. But you know, when you come to think of it in terms of the promises and manifesto we put forward, we reasoned and we still believe in the manifesto we put forward. It was a plausible and achievable manifesto in our calculations. We thought, and still do, think that the manifesto and promises put to the voters by both parties, one that won and the one that's the main opposition, were exaggerated, unachievable, and unsustainable. And so with the effect of the demographic dividend, younger people with very high levels of unemployment and the setting in of frustration at not getting jobs and the appeasement that was brought about by the opposition promises, including the conduct towards elections, where it would seem there was a lot of happiness just before voting day and actually on voting day, suggests that they attracted many more young people. Because if you look at the total vote, we got the second highest number of voters. But with our first past the post system, we suffered very badly. And the very fact that the ruling party now got the highest number of seats, the highest number of voters, followed in number of seats by an opposition party that promises much the same things, suggests that the appeasement, particularly to do with money and benefits, worked clearly more for them than they did for us. We certainly promised less in terms of salary and other benefits.
But I'm sure people would be also looking at your track record in the period you were in office. And I've heard people talking about a range of issues, from dissatisfaction with your handling of the economy or what happened during the COVID period, or some even saying you were tone deaf, some even saying they felt they couldn't trust you. Where did you think it went wrong in terms of your track record over the past few years?
I think, everybody is entitled to their opinion. You, in your examples, have concentrated on the alleged negative side of what was supposed to be my track record. There's an awful lot that can be said about what I did that was positive. But, these are perceptions, so it's not a problem. I think what has happened is just what I said. People were promised an awful lot, and fair enough, in the rhetoric of politics, a lot of negative things were said about myself and my party. It's not an issue of truthfulness. It's an issue of what is believable.
But surely people can see. People can see for themselves, and they can tell by what's in their pockets. They can tell, just by their daily hardships in life, whether or not you're doing a good job.
I know, and I accept that. But, these things are relative, right? That's why I'm saying those were amplified. The fact that you didn't have a job, amplified. Is it true? Yes, it's true. I accept it. But given the fundamentals of what we had, we were doing the best that could be done. We felt, in terms of balancing what we did for the economy and keeping it sustained, we were doing well and reasonably so we can keep it sustainable. If you look at the period of COVID, look, we were very responsible and frugal during COVID. We did a lot of things. We saved everybody's lives. We fed people. We quarantined. We did everything according to the book that was scientifically required. And we built back fastest and best. That's why we amassed so much. We were able to deliver so much in 3 years of the 5 years because we had made so much more money, right? But we are a single commodity-driven economy.
And don't you think that was an issue, a failure to diversify from a single commodity?
Yes, but tell me who diversifies in 2 or 5 years. Tell me. We did a lot to attempt to diversify. I can list a range of things that we did. And look, I took over in 2018. What happened with diversification all these other years? It's not an easy task. It isn't. We're a dry country. We are landlocked or surrounded by the countries. And we have many things that mitigate against easy diversification, right? But we are democratic. We stick to our principles. We believe in the rule of law. And I'm very satisfied with my record. At a personal level, I'm very gratified. Am I happy about my party and what it did? I'm really happy. We were honest. We didn't deceive the voters. We went out and put up a good fight. And yes, we were beaten. I accept it. And that's a responsible thing to do. Because if you don't do that, what more are you asking for? And there will be another chance. Let us wish the new government the very best for them, and we will put them to the test. We'll hold them accountable. We'll retreat to be a very informed, incisive opposition. And I really do wish the best for them. And I really wish we had proven wrong, and it works. But I still am not convinced that the promises they made can be delivered.
You talked about holding them accountable. What role will you personally play going forward? What do we see in the future for you?
Well, I'm still head of my party. I made it clear that when the next Congress comes about and we have an elective Congress, which is in a year or just under a year, I will not present myself for election to the leadership. But I remember loyal and committed member of the party. I will work for the party. I will help rebuild my party fervently. I sincerely, deeply believe in its ideals, but I will not seek election as head of the party or any significant office position.
Okay, we wish you all the best in those endeavors. Botswana's former President Mokgweetsi Masisi, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Have a good time.
You too.